Hi, I'm Kenton, and this is Kenton Knows. In this video, I want to share how I set up the banking and accounting for a new residential real estate investment property. Obviously, this applies to existing properties as well. It's just easier to start from the beginning to cover everything. I realize there are a lot of ways to do this, but I think that explaining what I do will give you another perspective and some ideas for you to decide what may be best for you. My hope is that you pick up a tip or two that may help you with your portfolio. I purchased my first 3-unit building in 2003, and my portfolio has grown to a total of 8 buildings with 31 apartments in Chicago. As a caveat, I am not a certified public accountant or an attorney, and nothing in this video should be construed as advice. This is just what I have found works best for my business, and I want to share it with you. Keep in mind, one of my main accounting objectives is to be able to track, categorize, and monitor the income and expenses at each property, so that when it comes time to refinance or pay my taxes, I don't have to scramble and do a lot of additional work. I have intentionally set it up so these tasks are quick and relatively painless, even though I have a sizable portfolio with many roommates sending in only their portion of the rent, which means I process over 50 separate payments per month. I'm personally receiving all of the rent, doing all of the accounting input and property management myself. I know I could require each unit to send in the rent together, but I have found that it can create problems with tenants transferring money between roommates and then they're potentially late that month. The tenants really just seem to appreciate being able to send in their portion separately. And luckily for me, my property management software, Tenant easily handles it, so it isn't a huge deal for me. If you are considering switching property management software or aren't currently using one, I highly recommend Tenant. I even did a full video on why I use and like it. Use the link below to sign up for a free account and see everything it can do for you. To start, I created a Series LLC, which is essentially a holding company with sub-LLCs under that umbrella. I personally didn't even create it until I owned several properties, and I wouldn't say you should even bother spending the money to set one up until you have actually purchased your first property, or maybe even your second or third, but obviously consult with an attorney to discuss your specific situation. The holding company I created has 0 assets other than the minimum my bank requires in that account. I won't get into the legal side of why I use a series in lieu of a separate LLCs or any of the legal structure discussion in this video, but I believe it is the right structure for me, and the costs of maintaining the series in Illinois are substantially less than separate LLCs. Next, I create an LLC with the address of the property in the series. I had my attorney create the original LLC operating agreement, and I simply edit the name and date for each new LLC. Then I create, print, and sign it, so the legal cost is negligible on each agreement for me. Again, I am not an attorney, and I'm sure my attorney would say that he should review each new LLC agreement for any changes that need to be made, but this is what I've been doing. Next, I go to the IRS website to request a new tax ID or employer identification number or EIN, which is surprisingly easy. After you complete the online form, you'll get a new tax ID emailed to you fairly quickly. Next, I filed the new LLC with the state. Instructions should be on your state website. In Illinois, it's cyberdriveillinois.com. I know the name doesn't sound like it, but it is actually the official Secretary of State website. With the new tax ID in hand and proof that it had been filed with the state, I've had to physically go to the bank to set up a new bank account and get a credit card in the business's name. I use Chase, as it is all over Chicago, and they allow me to have multiple business accounts with checks, credit, and ATM cards associated with each business, so I can easily transfer money between accounts as needed. I'm sure most banks will allow you to set up multiple business accounts under your profile, but I have found a lot of my tenants also bank with Chase, and so it's very easy for them to send money through Chase QuickPay as well. As an added bonus, Chase business credit cards pay 1% cash rebate, which is great. I even charge my building insurance to the business credit card per property, so I get 1% back on my insurance bill of approximately $3,600 per property per year, which isn't huge, but I'll take any rebate I can get. Please take a moment to like this video, and if you're on Facebook, please join my Kenton Knows Facebook group. The link is in the description below. For property management, I have been using Tenant for a couple of years and highly recommend it. From an invoicing perspective, Tenant allows me to set up my leases to automatically email each tenant an invoice on the 15th of the month for the rent due the 1st of the following month. Then, Tenant sends them a reminder email if I haven't recorded that the rent was paid by the due date. The tenants can log in to see the charges and credits in their accounts as well. It allows me to track payments by each person in the apartment or the apartment as a whole, and you can set up alerts for lease expirations if you'd like. See my other video on how I use Tenant and some of the great features it offers. If you need an online property management system or are considering changing the one you use, please be sure to follow the link below, and best of all, it's free to use if you have less than 75 units. For accounting, I have heard many other property managers use and really like Stessa, which is free, so I'd recommend you checking it out. Personally, I use QuickBooks by Intuit, which isn't free, and I plan to look into Stessa when my current desktop version needs to be upgraded. QuickBooks is an extremely robust program, and I know I am barely scratching the surface for what I use it for, but it works great for me. QuickBooks is trying to switch everyone to the online version, which sounds great, but I've stayed with the desktop version due to cost. With the desktop version, I can use it for 3 years before they require me to upgrade, and it allows me to create as many companies as I'd like without paying more per company. The online version requires you to pay for each company, and that can add up if you have a lot of companies. For me, I have a separate company for each property, plus the holding company, my real estate brokerage company, and my personal accounting. Together, that would be 11 separate companies, so the desktop version is currently the best option for me. Now, why do I have them all set up separately? I could use one company and categorize each income and expense to the appropriate property and category, but to me, that would be a lot more work and probably lead to a lot more mistakes. I do need to log into and out of each company in QuickBooks to do my expenses, which is a little annoying. However, when I log in and download my credit card and banking transactions, I don't have to think about them as most of them are reoccurring. I don't have to look at the receipts either. I know it is for that property because I used the correct charge card or automatic ACH payment, which was set up to pull from the correct bank account. There is only one gas, electric, water, mortgage, etc. being pulled from each account, so it is clearly for that property. Or when I went to Home Depot or ordered something from Amazon, I'd have to write down the property address on the receipt and then match it up when I do accounting. Instead, since they were purchased with the correct property credit card, they're automatically paid from the correct building bank account. And when I download the transaction, I know the charge is for that property, and anything from Amazon or Home Depot is automatically categorized as repair and expense. The only real caveat here is if it was a capital expense, which is normally a larger charge, and I would have to manually add or change that if it is the case, but that is the exception. QuickBooks allows you to set rules so it can classify each item for you. So I have only had to classify it once for all these recurring transactions. Then QuickBooks asks me if I want to set a rule for that item. Click OK, and after that, I just approve all future months. I also set up all of my recurring payments to be debited on the due date that they are due, and they're paid automatically each month, and the majority of my accounting is just clicking approve. All the income is easily classified as I transfer it from Venmo or PayPal directly into the correct bank account. When I need to prepare for my income taxes, I can print the pre-designed forms, same report for each company. Everything is clearly categorized per property, nothing is commingled, and I don't have to really think about it much. It's super easy. I'll do another video on the categories you should have set up in QuickBooks or wherever you do your accounting to be prepared for your accountants. Now, let's go back to the holding company account. The only reason I really need this account is because when you receive money from Chase QuickPay or Zelle, it goes directly into one account. Since I was receiving payments from various properties, I couldn't anticipate who would send rent next, so this is the solution I came up with. All Chase QuickPay income goes directly into this holding account, and then I transfer it to the correct bank account, thus keeping the holding account always at the minimum account balance to avoid the low balance fee. I will transfer the money into this account to pay for the annual LLC fee, but that's normally the only thing I pay out of this account. When I do my taxes, I just divide the expenses from this business evenly to all of the properties. In QuickBooks, I record the income received in the holding company as income for the specific property, not to the holding company. It's fairly easy to identify which property to classify it as because there's already a matching transaction of it being transferred out of the holding company into the correct property account, and QuickBooks recognizes the recurring transfer and classifies it automatically. So I just match the dollar amount and classify it as income to the property that it's being transferred into. When I do my taxes, I need to add the income from each property that was recorded in the holding account, plus that was received directly into the individual account. So it is a little more of a hassle than if I just accepted Venmo, PayPal, and paper checks, but I think providing Chase QuickPay or Zelle as a payment option is worth it considering a lot of my tenants pay with Chase QuickPay. One other option I offer my tenants to pay is for them to date checks for the first of each month for several months in the future. I have several tenants who do this, so I have a stack of checks on my desk that I'll deposit on the first of each month, and neither the tenant nor I worry about the mail not arriving or them remembering to send the checks on time each month. My processes have really grown as my portfolio grew. I have found that keeping all income and expenses separate by property has made my life easier and more organized. Tenant Cloud and QuickBooks are my tools of choice, and I highly recommend them both. For future improvements, I actually just upgraded to the $9 per month version of Tenant Cloud for two reasons. One, I'd like to automate my rent collection and use the ACH transfer feature to reduce my need to manually input all of the rents received. It remains to be seen if the tenants will switch over to the ACH option, but I'm hoping that some will, and future new tenants will be more inclined to use it as well. The other reason is that the pay version allows e-signatures for leases within Tenant Cloud. I currently pay DocHub $60 for unlimited online signatures, which I also use for my real estate brokerage client contracts. So I'll need to see if I can use Tenant Cloud signature for clients who are not tenants, as I'm guessing it might not work as well for my real estate brokerage clients. Here's a quick summary of the steps, and note that the LLC steps are only applicable if you go that route. 1. Create and sign your LLC operating agreement. 2. Apply for a new EIN from the IRS for your new LLC. 3. Register the LLC with the state. 4. Open a bank account in the name of the LLC, including a checking account, credit card, and optionally an ATM card. 5. Set up your online property management leases for this property. 6. Set up your accounting software for this property, and I'll get more into the accounting categories in a future video. I really hope this video gave you some insight into how I manage banking and accounting for my residential apartments, and that it may help you determine the best way for you to manage your portfolio. I know there are a lot of other options, so be sure to share what works best for you in the comments below so we can all get new ideas and learn. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, click the bell, and leave me any comments or questions as well. Thank you for watching. Kenton knows.